Hello and welcome to another episode of Garden to Table with Rose, and I am Rose. So today I'm back in the kitchen for day 5 of the 10 days autumn soup challenge. Today's recipe is going to be 1 pot paprika corn chowder. 1 pot paprika corn chowder. So that sounds good. Alright, so I'm going to go over the ingredients with you, and again I already have mine prepped to make these go a little bit faster since there's 10 of them. If you haven't already, please click the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel by clicking the yellow box on your screen so that you can get alerts of upcoming videos. And if you haven't already, you can always go back and look at all the soup challenge videos up until this point. Alright, so let me get my olive oil going. So basically for this recipe you're going to need a little bit of olive oil to saute your veggies in. And I'm just pouring a couple of tablespoons in there. And you're going to need, let's see, and half an onion chopped, 3 celery stalks chopped, 3 carrots sliced, 1 clove of garlic minced, I think I used 2 there, 1 potato peeled, which you should sit separately, along with 3 cups of corn. So I have my potato and my corn here. I used frozen corn. This is calling for canned corn, whole kernel, undrained, and they recommend fire roasted corn if you can find it. I do not typically buy canned vegetables, so I am using frozen, and I'm also adding some additional water to compensate for not having the liquid from the can, which they want you to use. You're going to need some parsley just for a garnish in terms of fresh stuff. I have an extra potato here, and this is a purple potato that was just in my stash, so I want to add that in to give it a little bit more color, but I don't want the purple to bleed all over the soup and turn the soup purple or some color that's even worse maybe. So now I took my celery, onions, garlic, and carrots, and I'm just sauteing them in this little bit of oil in this skillet, basically until they're soft. So 5 to 7 minutes, somewhere in there is where you're going to stop. Alright, back to the ingredient list. 2 cups of vegetable stock or broth. I'm using my, of course, Better Than Bouillon vegetable concentrate. 3 cups almond milk. I did not want to use almond milk for soup. I didn't want to use regular milk either, so I compromised and decided on canned evaporated milk, which is kind of the best of both worlds, I think. But anyway, that you have to dilute 1-to-1 with water usually, if you're going to use it like it were regular milk. So I've added the additional 12 ounces of water to my cup here. So those are the liquids, and then there's 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. I just had a paprika blend that was sitting in my cabinet. It's almost gone, so it has garlic, chili, chives. I'm gonna just use that for my paprika. You're gonna need salt and pepper to taste, and nutritional yeast, which I imagine you could leave this out if you don't happen to have any or want to buy it just to make this recipe. But nutritional yeast is found in health food stores usually, or I guess something like Trader Joe's or something might have it. Usually I found it at the health food store. It's usually in the bulk food section, so you kind of measure it out and get it in bags like this. And it adds a umami flavor to savory dishes, and it's often used in place of cheese for people who are vegan, because it does have like a almost like that fake cheese you put on popcorn. the orange cheese popcorn. It almost has a taste like that. But anyway, I happen to have some, don't ask me why, and quite a bit of it in my freezer. It's probably been there for like 2 years, but I must have had a recipe that called for it at some point. So there's actually a half a cup of this, which is quite a bit. This stuff is salty, as I recall. So if you're going to use the nutritional yeast, I would definitely not add any extra salt until you taste how salty that stuff makes it, because I recall this being a little bit salty. And that's really all you're going to need. It says you can also garnish this with a cup of vegan cheddar cheese or regular cheddar cheese if you're not vegan. I'm not going to add any cheese to it probably. I'm just going to use the parsley. Now let me tell you, this recipe looks really tasty because I love chowders. I love creamy soups. So, you know, this is a creamy soup, a corn chowder. Of course, you could beef it up by adding some kind of protein. Seafood is always good in a chowder. Yeah, I'd probably go with seafood. I mean, you could add something else, chicken or whatever, but seafood probably would complement it the best. One thing I've noticed is that I'm kind of getting tired of eating soup. I'm getting souped out. I mean, I generally love soup, but it has been my primary meal every day for the last 5 days. So I'm just kind of tired of the whole soup deal, and I don't know how I'm going to get through the next 5 recipes because I don't even think there's a break for the weekend. This contest started on a Monday, and here we are Friday. And I don't think there's a break on the weekend, and then, you know, you do the next 5 days the next week. I think it just continues on. So we'll see. I'm thinking I'm going to just have the soup from this point on as an appetizer type deal. Not really put too much protein in the rest, because I don't think I want to do it as my main meal of the day for the next 5 days. Alright, so once those veggies are a little bit soft, then they want you to add your corn and your potato. My potatoes is in the bottom of the bowl, chopped up, cubed up. I'm not going to add that purple potato until the very end. Actually, I may just put that in the bowl because I do not want it to bleed and turn this some kind of weird color. Alright, let me give this a stir. That is stir. Alright, so you add the potatoes, the corn, the vegetable stock, the almond milk, the salt and pepper. So what I am going to do is add my broth and water mixture I have here. So for me that totaled 4 cups in here, and then I have a 12-ounce can of condensed evaporated milk. Homogenized evaporated milk, which is usually in the baking aisle, and it's shelf stabilized concentrated milk basically. So a lot of recipes for like casseroles and soups call for it. A lot of times in baking, I used to see it a lot in baking. I don't know about now, but when I did a lot of baking, I would use this quite a bit. All right, so I'm going to put the lid on because, as you know, this induction cooktop is not the hottest. It's not as hot as it could be. All right, so okay, I'm going to add a little pepper to that. Stir in the smoked paprika and the nutritional yeast. Once it boils, lower the heat, simmer, cook for 30 minutes until the potatoes are soft. Right before serving, add the vegan cheese and parsley if you're using it. So that's pretty simple. So a half a cup of this. Whoa. That just seems like a lot. But I'm following the recipe. Alright, so we got a nice level half a cup of that. And then the paprika, I believe that's 2 teaspoons. I'm not really going to measure this. I'm just going to do this to what I think is a good amount. So that's good. And then just a little bit of black pepper, because that paprika mixture was not spicy at all. So, and it didn't have any salt in it either. So let's stir this all up here and then cover it and let it get up to a boil. Once it boils, I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. And this is to be cooked, it looks like, with the lid off. I'm just using the lid to heat the mixture up a little bit faster. But there you go. The broth is a nice pale orange. It kind of reminds me of the curry soups, like that Thai curry, because I use red curry paste. But I guess this is supposed to remind you of cheese, really, when I think about it, because that nutritional yeast usually is used as a cheese substitute by vegans and people like that. All right, so that's it. Here we are, another one pot soup that's ready in 30 minutes. You know, the cook time. You know, if you prepped your veggies the day before or the morning of or something like that, as you saw I did, it goes super fast. So I shall be back in 30 minutes when the potatoes and carrots are tender, and then I am just going to stir. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to stir these in. I'm going to add some of these little purple potatoes, and they're savory. They're not sweet. I'm going to add some of those just for some additional color and sprinkle some parsley on it. Then I'm going to taste it and tell you how it tastes. And that is it for this video. All right, I'll be back. All right, I am back, and my soup has simmered away here for about 25-30 minutes, somewhere in there. It's thickened up a bit. I wanted mine a little bit thicker, so what I did was I took a potato masher and just mashed some of the potatoes and the veggies in here up a little bit to, you know, have the starches thicken this a little bit. You could add a thickener if you wanted it thicker as well. You know, just mix your thickener with a little bit of water. Usually, if you're going to use cornstarch or arrowroot powder, I mix it with a little cool water first, or warm water, and then stir it in and cook it for a couple more minutes. But I didn't want to add any thickener because, as I said earlier, I'm kind of getting souped out, and so most of this is either going to be frozen or refrigerated and had sometime next week, so I think it'll thicken up as it sits. But right now we're going to do the taste test, and let's see. I misspoke earlier. This is actually day 6. I started my challenge on Sunday and now it's Friday, so this is the 6th soup in the series, and that made me feel better because that means there's only 3 more soups to go. I believe, or 4 more soups to go. Losing track. All right, so let me get some of this in here, and mine is still pretty liquidy. Like I said, you can thicken it up, but I'm gonna leave mine like this because I don't really plan to eat this until next week. So what I want to do is add some of these purple potatoes just to give it a little bit more color. So, and I cook these in the microwave, so they're already cooked, but they're like room temperature. So I'm just gonna add a few in the center. And if I were sure these weren't going to bleed, I would have just stirred them into the pot. Alright, and then I'm going to garnish with some parsley. Of course, you could use cheese like the recipe suggests. But that's all I am doing for that. And it looks good. It's pretty. It's very colorful. Yes, so I've added my purple potato in the middle of there and some parsley on top, and it looks yummy. Definitely looks good, and like I said, you could add meat to this or some kind of protein. It would really be good with salmon, like chunks of salmon. Yeah, then it'd be like a seafood chowder, or any other seafood will work. So let's do the taste test here of the one pot paprika corn chowder. All right. That's really good. Can't really complain about it. It is, you know, it tastes like a chowder. It's hearty, it's filling, it's creamy, but there is no protein in it. So I'm kind of used to having some kind of protein in my chowders, but it's actually quite tasty. I like it. I would definitely make it again. I don't eat a whole lot of corn, but it's definitely worth making again. So this one I'm going to give 4 out of 5 stars. It's pretty good. There's nothing spectacular about it. Nothing that really stands out. It's a typical chowder. Like I said, you can add stuff to it if you want. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so tomorrow's recipe is minestrone, classic minestrone soup. Now this is gonna be a hoot because I don't like minestrone at all. Matter of fact, I really don't like pasta noodles in soup. There are very few soups other than, like, you know, a chicken noodle, beef noodle, or something like that that I would want pasta in. So this should be interesting. Yeah, so that's tomorrow. All right, so that's it for today's soup. It came together in 30 minutes just like all the rest. You can tweak it to your liking. It's a keeper if you just want a good base for a seafood type chowder or a corn type chowder. It's a very good base. All right, that's it. I shall see you next time. Until then, bye-bye.